sobre centros de investigación e innovación tecnológica y también sobre centros de investigación e innovación en el desarrollo. Algunas veces ocurren en el mismo lugar, a menudo no. No hace mucho, leyendo una cita de Ismael de la Peña en su blog ictology.net, él se planteaba si es cierto que el 90% de los fondos que se invierten en innovación y en investigación ayudan a resolver los problemas del 10% de la gente en el mundo, si no es hora de ir revirtiendo esta situación. Entonces, bueno, con una pregunta así, lógicamente, tenemos que montar una sesión para ayudar a responderlo. Así que esta mesa redonda va a intentar conocer mejor cómo algunos de los centros de mayor prestigio internacional, tanto en el área tecnológica como en desarrollo, cómo funcionan, cómo se estructuran, cómo gestionan el conocimiento, cómo lo proveen, es decir, cómo hacen para accionar de la manera que lo hacen y nos va a dar eso pistas a la hora de pensar en otros centros que puedan venir o inclusive en nuestras propias organizaciones sobre qué factores y qué elementos pueden incorporar para que sean exitosos. Así que sin más, vamos a empezar por el final. Presento a Florencio Ceballos. Florencio es el manager del programa telecentre.org en la entidad canadiense IDRC. Es una entidad que trabaja en muchos ámbitos de desarrollo, también trabaja en ámbitos de tecnología aplicada al desarrollo, así que es una de esas raras organizaciones que combinan ambos campos. Es chileno, se ha ido a vivir al norte, a Ottawa. Hace poco estaba con él, yo me moría de frío y él estaba tan campante, así que es un tipo duro, con mucha experiencia en este ámbito, y queremos preguntarte, Florencio, tus ideas, fuerza, digamos, tus mensajes principales. After this I will switch to English because the rest I think are only English speakers, except for Andres, but you're also an English speaker. So please keep your initial key messages short so we can engage in debate afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. So just a clarification about telecentre.org, which is a project supported by IDRC as well as by Microsoft Community Affairs and the Swiss Development Agency, SDC. So I just would like to share with you 3 or 4 key ideas or key learnings that IDRC, as a center focused on research for development, gathered during their activity, and in particular on the field of ICTs for development, or ICT4D. The first one is about the focus on development, or as we used to say, ICT4D is written with lowercase ICTs and uppercase D. We think, or I think, that there is some kind of very dangerous fetishism about cooperation investments, highly visible, if possible highly expensive, based on objects, not on processes, not on actors. And this is one key element on focusing on development. There is several not so sexy processes or fields that actually pays off more in terms of research for development, as understanding and explain local circumstances, having an impact in public policies, engaging in sometimes slow process of capacity building. The third idea in that first area is that ICTs for development are certainly a niche, even if the landscape changed in the last years in terms of how agencies understand ICTs, mainstreaming versus an independent niche. But it is a niche that can't grow or can't develop outside the circuit of development issues: health, economy development, government, etc. So that's for focus on development. And if ICT4D is written with lowercase ICTs and uppercase D, is also why we like the word telecenters when we work in telecenter.org, even if it's also info centers, CMCs, and every other, and any kind of public access venue, is because it's really a lowercase tele and an uppercase center, which is the development part of it. The second idea is on capacity building. One thing that has been repeated here several times, that there is no, and we discussed that yesterday on the dinner, you can't think on development or research of development that is thrown on a parachute from a plane in the south. That does not work. If it's not done by them, it's not going to be done. And that means that you as an agency also needs to be very hands-on and get involved and spend time on the field and understand the process and participate in the substantial debates that are happening locally, and that involves a lot of time and building confidence and building commitments. The third one on capacity building is that a risk is to build or is to generate institutional dependency from organizations in the South to some particular grant makers or supporters. Having high standards regarding institutional strength or absorption capacity for funds from your partners is part of the solution, but more than anything I would say is how you make sure that you are not being the sole source of revenue for organization. That's not good for you, it's certainly not good for this organization. And on capacity building, the fourth idea is how to find a virtuous balance between supporting individuals and talent and supporting organizations and some time of continuity in those engagements on the time. I think that's not an easy balance to find, but you can't do it either one or the other. You need to do both in one way or another. The third one, and I'm not going to talk too much about that one because it was extensively discussed in the previous session, is about focusing on networking and going beyond the exclusive relationships between grant makers and grantees. So promoting open networks for knowledge capacity exchange, integrated with their ecosystem, is part of that. But there's a couple of things that also needs to be considered on that. The first one, and maybe something I missed in Vika's presentation on north-south, south-south, north-south-south, there is, especially in the ICT field, a lot of south-north cooperation that may be happening. I mean, give you a couple of examples. I don't think that any OECD...
Sorry. There will be chances to elaborate later on some of the thoughts. So
I will. So is that idea? I mean, on mobiles, on eGov, there is good spaces on the south. And finally, the focus on research, which is not to sacrifice quality, not to fall in any of the paternalism of, I will do it for you because you don't know, it doesn't work, or I will let you do it, but I am assuming that you are not going to do it well.